All right, welcome to the Krueg Show, everybody. Strike up the band. We're getting things rolling on a Wednesday night, June the 14th, 2023. Welcome to the Pig in a Pickle Krueg Show. On the bottom of the screen, you see our newest sponsor, Marin Auto Glass, marinautoglass.com, 415-883-3030. Also, thanks to New York Style Italian Sausage. You see them in the corner of the screen. And we're back with you on the home and home. Damon Bruce in the house, fresh off of an appearance at the Coliseum. Damon also has his sponsors. Damon, go ahead. Shout out your sponsors before we even get rolling.
Well, I appreciate that, Larry. Congratulations on picking up Marin Auto Glass. Like I already told you, I got a little spider crack in the front windshield. Some pebble kicked up and hit it. Maybe I can talk to them and they can help me out. But let me tell you, if you're in the mood for a delicious sandwich, not only do you pick up one at Ike's, but you can meet me and Ike at the opening of his Brentwood location tomorrow, where I'm going to be there from 4 to 6 p.m. doing meet and greets, giving away free sandwiches. So we got that going on. Of course, my friends at Blackened Whiskey, my preferred whiskey, if there ever could be a preferred whiskey. I prefer a little blackened, little couple rocks in there, makes it real nice, good in cocktails. And my guys at Uncle Boys, one of the best burgers in all of San Francisco, in the inner Richmond, a wonderful family, true San Franciscans running a business, and they are just fantastic. And I think Ike and I are going to stop over there for lunch because he loves small businesses too, before we go to help him continue his big business, which he is opening to the tune of nearly 100 stores now in his chain. So things are going very, ching ching. Things are going well on the show with our sponsors. Everyone is happy. I'm happy. You're happy. I don't know if A's fans have much to be happy about right now, unfortunately, but Giants fans got a little something to be happy about here, Larry. And if you're an NBA fan, obviously you're happy. The draft is next week, and things could get interesting for the Warriors.
Let's just go right into it. Giants rallied today in St. Louis for an 8-5 win over the Cardinals. In 10 innings, they complete the 3-game sweep. They hadn't swept in St. Louis, I believe, since 1998. Mike Yastrzemski hit a game-tying 2-run bomb in the 9th inning. Thairo Estrada had a go-ahead single in the 10th. And the Giants,
too. I mean, Yastrzemski was sitting, that game was over with one more pitch, and he parked it. So
exactly. 8-5, Giants get the win. They get the sweep, and now they go to Dodger Stadium Friday night for game 1 of Giants-Dodgers. Unfortunately, we don't get Giants-Dodgers here in the Bay Area until late in the year, but the Giants bullpen has been really, really good. And the Giants bullpen in today's game, 5 relievers combined for 7 scoreless. Tyler Rogers gets the win with a perfect 9th inning, and Doval, who's just been absolutely nails, could be an all-star.
He's going to the all-star game. Yeah.
18th save and 19 opportunities for Camilo. He has just been fantastic. And what can you say? The highly touted rookie, Luis Matos, made his debut. He started in center field for the Giants, got a single in his first major league at-bat between third and short as part of a 2-run first inning. And so we got Matos to break through, and that was good to see. The Giants recalled Matos in VR. Of course, the bad news was Mitch Haniger fractured his right forearm, so he was placed on the 10-day injured list, and J.D. Davis has a right ankle sprain, and he's going to be out for a few days. So, but Damon, I mean, I'll say this. I was in Scottsdale in spring training. I was standing there nose to nose with Gabe Kapler. And while I was optimistic, I really didn't see what we're seeing now happening. They're 36 and 32. That's probably not the biggest surprise. To me, the biggest surprise is that they've got a 2-game lead or 3-game lead on the Padres, who have spent a ton of cash. And the Giants, now it's like, what do you do? I mean, it's the middle of June. You're sitting right there. And you've got like Alex Cobb, Alex Wood, DeSclafani, Jock Peterson. You've got some pieces that other teams, I'm sure, would give you prospects for. Do you stay on your prospect mode and move your veterans and go that route, or do you buy and try to excite the fan base and get people in the stands and go for the playoffs? I mean, what would you do here? Before you answer, let me give you the wild card standings. The Giants are in the wild card right now. Basically, they're leading the wild card. They're 36-32 by 2 games over the Brewers.
Beyond that, Larry, I was just looking at the standings before I clicked into the Krueg show as well tonight, just for giggles. I wanted to see where they are here. In front of the Padres is certainly unexpected. Not just their performance, but the underachieving Padres is part of the surprise of that equation for sure. What's amazing, and I believe the Dodgers are trailing the White Sox right now. And
yeah, I'm watching it. It's 2-0 Chi Sox.
That could all change quickly, but they're trailing now. If the Giants continue this heater that they're on, if the Dodgers lose tonight, there's a chance that they could leave LA in front of the Dodgers and in second place behind just the Diamondbacks, who are interesting, but still fall under the category of scrappy, So I don't know if you think of the Arizona Diamondbacks as this uncatchable, unchallengeable entity at all. I mean, it's going to take Dodger and Padre underachievement and Giant overachievement and a little coming down to earth for the Diamondbacks. Larry, it's not out of the question to think that the Giants could actually win the West. I mean, it's not.
They're 5.5 back. I mean,
there's
two teams.
Plenty of baseball. It has to happen still, and I don't know what the hell just flew in my eye, but there we go. But
studio support.
It's really, really an unexpected development here for the Giants, and I think that this is.
What do you do? Do you buy? Do you sell? Do you do both? I mean, what would you do here if you're Farhan? I'm sitting in tomorrow for Dibley, so I'll be on with Mark Willard tomorrow on 95.7, and
I like a more consistent pairing and afternoon drive. People who are there every day, but I understand these lucky to be here's need their time off because of the pressures of the job.
So I'm sitting in for Dibs, who's getting some vacation.
Oh, good.
And
good.
Farhan will be on with us. And I'd love to know from Giants fans if you could ask
me off. I never got Farhan. They never got me Farhan.
If you could ask Farhan one question tomorrow on the radio, or if we could get him on the YouTube channel, because we're working on that angle as well. If you could ask Farhan one question, if we had him on this show right now, if you're in the chat, what would be your question? Because mine, I think, is you've got some really attractive veteran pieces. You stayed with the plan and didn't move off of Bumgarner. You stayed with the plan and didn't move off of Rodon. Is that the plan again, to stay with Cobb and stay with DeSclafani and stay with your veterans? Or will you kind of commit to the youth movement, which seems to be going very, very well, and lean into it a little bit and move some of those veterans for maybe try to add another piece? Because here's the reality. If the Giants get in the playoffs, I mean, anything can happen because it's baseball, but I mean, it's the odds are long. So I don't know that I want to trade anybody, any prospect that's real or anybody that's really going to be part of my future for the playoffs this year when you're this far ahead of schedule. But if you go the other route and you move Alex Cobb or you move Alex Wood or Jock Peterson and get a nice piece to the puzzle, you could accelerate your kind of next era by getting a key piece to the puzzle. And I think it might be the smart way to go. What do you think?
So my question
MF says Luciano's raking right now. I don't know.
Look, my question is similar to yours without getting so granular into the question. It would simply be, as you look at your team right now, Farhan, are you really a contender or do you see the illusion of contention? I think you could answer that question honestly without giving up the goat. I think that there is a little bit of a both there. I think there is an illusion of contention, but when you are leading the wild card, you are by default contending in some way, shape, or form. I was looking at this before I came on with you, Larry. So they're 4 games over 500. They're winners of 4 in a row and 7 of their last 9. They got a stretch of 10 here where they get the Dodgers, the Diamondbacks. I think they see the Padres coming home. for a homestand. So they've got the right schedule in front of them to really do something within the standings of their own division if the hot streak that they're on right now continues to be a heater. So the way Farhan feels about the answer to this question 10 days from now could be different than today. But just looking at this team today, and, how excited are you going to get about anybody who's had 3 major league at-bats? But there is a pretty serious youth movement happening on this team right now that is not getting an awful lot of fanfare. And I don't know if that's because people don't want to swing that pendulum back to saying Farhan might be good at this and I like him again or anything like that, because we know that people love to throw darts at Farhan, and some of those darts absolutely hit a bullseye of real criticism. Some of them are probably exaggerated. You know how fans get. But you got Luis Matos, who is 21 years old and today became the second youngest position player in the major leagues. You got Casey Schmidt, who is a shortstop, third base, second baseman, who looks to be the real deal and is a 24-year-old rookie. You got Patrick Bailey, who just turned 24 last month, and without trying to put the burdens of you're the next Buster Posey on him, he's the best-looking rookie catcher this team has had since Buster Posey.
Two hits today, hitting 329 with a 356 on base. Bailey has been outstanding.
He's hitterish, Larry. He's hitterish.
Oh, he's great. And did you see the throw that he had second base a couple nights ago, where he just put it right on the bag? I mean, the guy's pretty good. I'll give him that. And that brings me, you could move Joey Bart if you wanted to.
That brings me to Blake Sable, who's only 25 years old and looks like a pretty good rookie. And I like him even more when he's not behind the plate. So I like that. You got David VR, who's been hurt. He's only 26. You got Brett Wisely, and I'll be nice. I won't even bring up, the fact that, let's just be nice. We'll call him a contributor, a pinch runner, but he's only 24 years old.
How about Estrada? Estrada may be an NL All-Star. He's 27.
Keaton Wynn earned a multiple inning save in his debut in St. Louis, and he got sent down due to the roster manipulation and moves that they needed to do on the roster, but he's only 25. Elio Ramos on the 60-day IL, and who knows what he's going to be, but he's only 23, so let's not jump to any conclusions yet. And let me just ask you this. Don't look this up. Just guess.
Yeah.
How old do you think Thairo Estrada is?
I just told you. He's 27.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. You just told me. He's 20. He's only 27. And I know he's not their farmhand, but he's young.
But that was a great trade. That was a great trade to bring him
right now. Absolutely. You think the Yankees wouldn't want him back? Gleyber Torres has been a disaster.
Well, how about this, Damon? I mean, the greatest moves you make are the ones you don't make. I mean, Carlos Correa is hitting 210. And he doesn't look anything like that. They signed him for a 13-year, $350 million contract that they got out of in the 11th hour. I mean, talk about dodging a bullet. I mean, they were literally on the train tracks and the train was coming.
Here's the thing. The way it was handled was so substandard. I don't think they get an awful lot of credit. They just maybe get lucky on that one.
Dodged a bullet there. Huge bullet.
Let's see what he does. A bad start to a season is not who Carlos Correa, I think, really is as a baseball player. He's just off to a bad start this year. But it's deep enough into the year where you can say it might even be a little bit more than a bad start. I don't know. But he hasn't looked good. That's for sure. Look, if either Kyle Harrison or Ken Wisenhunt pitched their way to the major leagues this year.
Carson Wisenhunt. Ken Wisenhunt was the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, I believe.
I think you're right. Carson Wisenhunt. If either of those guys show up, you officially have the next generation of Giants being handed the baton like in real time. So I wouldn't give up any young player, and I'd be careful about the piece that you gave up. I don't know what you'd really get back to help you this year for DeSclafani, but he's expendable. I think that Cobb is having a good enough year where there's reasons to say goodbye, but there's more reasons to hold on to him. I mean, any sort of playoff scenario, he's probably, your second starting pitcher behind Logan Webb. Um, so it's weird that they're in this, well, what do you want to do mode. I wouldn't come off Jock Peterson, even though he drives me nuts at times. That guy is the left-handed bat you need in a postseason. I think he's a left-handed bat that this team needs in the regular season, and he's just kind of getting healthy and his legs underneath him. And, he's had multiple hit games when I've been watching, and he looks better than he has in years past. So the Giants have officially become interesting again. I mean
Farhan's one of the best trades he ever made, Damon, was that Darren Ruff trade last year, which got them 3 arms and JD Davis. And JD Davis, got hurt, of course, yesterday, but JD Davis was raking and playing the hell out of third base. And he's a local. Yeah, he's been terrific. And then, and obviously Ruff has already been back and released again, but that was a terrific kind of a move. And, what was that? Was that a sell? Was that a buy? It was just a baseball trade, really, right? Because it was just like, oh, we'll give you this, you give us that. It wasn't really a true sell or buy. It was just 2 teams making a deal. And I think Farhan might be able to help out and find some deal. I mean, I definitely would consider DeSclafani and moving DeSclafani or Alex Cobb, just because I think that you could get a lot for Cobb right now. And also I'd like to clear those spots for Wisenhunt and
that's the thing. So you can't move Cobb unless Harrison or Wisenhunt are showing up.
Harrison,
to save the day.
But they may be better off with Harrison and Wisenhunt.
Would you trade Wilmer? And what do you think you could actually get back for him? Do you think you could get back a prospect that would be appearing in the major leagues this year? I don't think you're getting a top 5 prospect for Wilmer Flores out of anyone's farm system.
No. The only thing that the only thing that you're going to be able to trade that anybody's going to want is maybe Jock Peterson because of the postseason reputation, and you might be able to move Slater in a deal if you wanted to, and you could probably move some of those starting pitchers. I mean, that's the thing. There's so much a need for pitching that if you could promote Wisenhunt and Harrison, you could definitely move a couple of your starting pitchers, and that would be, that might be interesting what they could get back, in a deal like that for like a Carson, for Alex Wood or Alex Cobb. I mean, Cobb's been really, really good for the Giants. So
yeah, it'd be hard to walk away from the innings that he's given them. I mean, he gives up a lot of contact. He gets hit, but he keeps the ball in the park and he gets out of the jams that he gets himself into. I think he's had a really good year. I think he's been their best pitcher this year.
Yeah. I mean, DeSclafani got off to a nice start. Now he's starting to cool off a little bit. They hit him pretty good today.
Best starting pitcher. By the way, who would have thought that Bribia would have been this like important of a piece?
He's been really good.
He's been really good. Really good. So
we got this one in the chat from Hell of This, Hell of That. He says Joey Bart for Nick Madrigal would be a nice trade. Bart would be better at Wrigley, and Madrigal knows how to work a count. And Madrigal, of course, is a NorCal guy, right? Or did he go, or is it Oregon State? Or I think he might be an Elk Grove kid.
The only thing I know about him is he's a Chicago Cub. That's
when he was a Chicago White Sox. The Joey Bart trade that I thought might be interesting is that the Kim Ng, who runs the Marlins, there's a big whole write-up this week about how the Marlins are really desperate for a catcher. They don't like Stallings. And you look around the league, there's not hardly any catching available. What do you think of Joey Bart to the Marlins and a deal for Jazz Chisholm?
Yes, the one thing about I do that Giants, immediately. Why are the Marlins doing that deal, though? I mean, Joey Bart's star has so fallen out of the night sky.
But if you look around catching, there isn't a lot of catching around there. And you're talking about a young guy, controllable, massive right-handed power. Chisholm's hitting only 210. He's hurt right now, and they're loaded in the outfield. I mean, that would be the short reason. And they have lots of different guys who play his spot. But, I'm just thinking for the Giants' perspective, too. Giants are like dead last in stolen bases. I mean, they have no speed. And their defensive percentage is, if defensive run saved, they're middle of the pack. Defensive fielding percentage, they're dead last. So, or second to last. So, I mean, a guy like Chisholm who could play center, who could play maybe second, give him a little ignition. I think if you could get that guy in your team, you would be noticeably better.
This Kevin Krueger guy's onto something. Like and subscribe. I like
Look at
that.
Yeah.
By the way, I'll say this. I have been serving up my last couple of shows almost exclusively talking about the A's situation. It's funny, Larry. I've had so many fans say, Damon, for years, I didn't like you because you were just telling us things that you wanted to hear. But everything that you sort of warned us of is sort of happening in real time right now. And you're still going. I probably picked up 60 subscribers just today that are A's fans who are saying, like, thanks for doing this and at least paying a little attention while we're sort of dying on the vine over here. So, the channel's growing. We're at 57 already, looking to get to 6, baby. And I know you're growing exponentially too. So these are good times. And I just can't wait to see where we are once we get to football season, man, and the real fun begins. But
exactly. You saw the story of the day with the A's. They cleared a major hurdle for their relocation to Vegas. The Nevada legislature gave final approval today to public funding for a portion of the proposed $1.5 billion stadium with the retractable roof. So the A's.
By the way, that stadium's coming in. Who's getting a stadium for 1.5 billion anywhere? Like, I mean, that number. There's no element of the numbers that anyone has thrown out here that I believe on face value for a millisecond. A millisecond.
You're thinking it's going to cost well into $2 billion. Is that what you're thinking?
Well into $2 billion. Come on, man. The price of steel alone these days is going to send that SOB over $2 billion. And look, a $1.5 billion baseball stadium on the Strip will look rinky dink. I mean, I think they built the Aria for like $8 billion. That's a hotel complex that it looks like its own little city sitting there. The A's can't come in to Las Vegas with anything other than a cathedral. And you're not getting a cathedral for 1 point whatever billion. You're just not. So I think the whole thing is based on bullshit and fuzzy numbers. And I truly hope, and I know it's just absolute false hope, but Major League Baseball should step in here, get this right. I mean, don't ever run ever in your entire lives, Major League Baseball, ever run a single story again about how, we've lost a lot of, flavor in our game because the black community doesn't really respond. Like any element of diversity that you ever cared about, if you're pulling a major league team out of Oakland, you can go fuck yourselves. Yeah, straight up.
You're expressing the sentiment, but I think it may ultimately be a fact when you're abandoning a market this size to go to a market the size of Las Vegas. You're going to call that good business? I don't see that as good business. Has it been good business for the NBA to not be in Seattle and instead be in Oklahoma City? No. It was good for the owner. It was good for David Stern, but it hasn't been good for the league. But the league still, it's not like the league it's going to fold suddenly because there's a team in Oklahoma City, but the league's not stronger for abandoning the Seattle market. And the league, Major League Baseball, will not be stronger for abandoning a second team in a market this size. But it's just, it's just unfortunate. The whole thing's really unfortunate. What was the vibe like there at the stadium? You could hear people chanting, sell the team, sell the team. Of course, everybody pelted the turf with garbage at the end of the game.
That was a protest against Fisher, obviously not the team. To walk away with that as the impression of the evening is to like smear the fans that were there. It was awesome. It felt like a playoff game. I mean, it really did. And all you had to be in that ballpark, you just had to be there for 5 minutes. And if I blindfolded someone, kidnapped somebody from Nebraska who had never been to a Major League Baseball game, and I plopped them down and said, hey, forget about the way this place looks compared to other new baseball stadiums. Just how does it feel in here tonight? They would have turned around and been like, this is awesome. And these fans are into it. And this is cool. And this is a cool, just looking crowd. I don't see crowds that really look like this. And you won't ever again in baseball if you take baseball out of Oakland. So it was celebratory. It was angry. It was mournful. It was it was a really interesting evening where just every emotion a fan could experience was a piece of the pie. It was an odd thing. And I'll tell you, Larry, I've been to several last games in Oakland, the last ever Warriors game at Oracle Arena. I went to 3 different, like, this is it, the last game the Raiders are going to play. We did that so many years in a row. And none of them felt as angry and the whole thing just stinking to high heaven. Like, not even the Raiders leaving for more fertile ground stunk as much as this feels like it stinks, because the Raiders abandoned the city once before. So this is an absolute greedy grab by the very few rich and the hundreds of thousands of normal people that get screwed over along the way just do not matter to the pie. And that sucks. It really, really sucks. And what baseball is sending in no uncertain terms is, whatever we do and however we do it, the fans will definitely be the last group considered in any conversation about it, if you're even considered at all, which in Oakland's case, they're not.
Yeah. Well, it's a really sad thing too, because MLB has kind of thrown up their hands and said, well, we tried. But in reality, it was there's a way to try when you really don't want to get it done. And that's what they did.
Well, and what has happened here is Major League Baseball's commissioner, starting with Bud Selig and now Rob Manfred, you have had 2 commissioners go out of their way to totally fuck Oakland by forcing the sale to go to Lou Wolf and John Fisher in the first place. The A's totally got screwed over, and the careful 20-year plan to reduce this to nothing to make sure that they could make the argument to move, I believe, was enacted from almost day one. Just go back and look at John Fisher's tenure and spending as an owner. It's all sort of there if you want to do the forensic accounting on how much he really tried. He didn't. And you have Bud Selig screwing the team over 20 years ago by letting the charlatan monorail salesman buy the team in the first place. And now Rob Manfred is clearing the decks and waiving relocation fees and making it as easy as possible for John Fisher to screw over a community that they've been in for over 50 years.
Where do you put Billy Beane in this thing? Because Billy was fighting the good fight, badly wanting to compete, and then they basically gave him part of the team as hush money, and he hasn't been heard from since.
Yeah, no, Billy Beane took the money, he started rooting for soccer, and he clearly couldn't give a shit either.
He was just like, give me mine, and do what you got to do, as long as I own it too.
Yeah, no, just give me a pice of the pie. No,
give me a piece of the pie, and I'll just sit here and,
right. Brad Pitt will play me in the movie, and I don't care.
I don't care. I'll just go through the motions, cash checks. What a weird career.
And here's the thing: baseball so desirous. Yeah, baseball's so desirous of now getting into Las Vegas. There's no way, the owners step in and prevent this from happening.
Of course not.
The Skids.
Vegas has got momentum. Who's got more momentum right now? Oakland, California, or Las Vegas, Nevada? Come on, are you joking? That's really it. I mean, ultimately, you can say what you want. Joe Lacob picked up and left Oakland as fast as he could.
He did, but there was reason for him to do that. And you can't argue with the results and the roster that he's been able to afford since doing that either. You really can't. So and here's the thing. Did he move the team? Yes, he did. But he moved the team BART stops away. I think it's 7 total BART stops. I always forget about that West Oakland stop. But it's 6 total BART stops away. If Joe Lacob is a bad guy for moving the team, what the hell's Jed York?
It's not about bad guy, good guy. Come on, let's be honest. This is a business deal. This is not about emotion. This is about greenbacks. It's about money. John Fisher is a billionaire. He wanted to make money, own the team, until somebody gave him a sweetheart deal, and that's what he got. He's made probably 3 times as much money My guess is if you took like what the Giants ownership group, how much from 1992 to 2010, what they made, I bet you Fisher made 3 times as much as they did in that same period of time by just carving himself an annual $10 million, $20 million profit and just kind of going through the motions.
The thing, the Giants, hurt their own pockets by paying off the lease of the stadium that they, moved into and actually spending money on a Major League Baseball team several years in a row, not to great success.
It's called operating costs.
Yeah. Right. John Fisher decided, I'm going to run a Major League Baseball team with the operational budget of a minor league outfit. And that's why he's been profitable. The fact that these leagues now exist in a space where spending the least amount of money as possible on your own team trying to win can turn into one of the better revenue streams in the entire sport is disgusting. As soon as
it's Major League the movie. I mean, if you want to know what it is, it's Major League the movie. It's the owner rooting for failure.
Right. As soon as the concept of profitability was no longer attached to on-field success, and baseball went far out of its way to set that economic environment up for all of its owners, that's where real competition and things went off the skids.
Yeah. Very sad too, because I was talking to an A's fan the other day, and he's like, Matt Olson, Matt Chapman, Sean Murphy, they're all doing well elsewhere, and it's like that's their team. I mean, could you imagine that? Could you imagine if whatever team you're most passionate about, picture all of your players now doing really, really, really well on other teams because your billionaire owner, who's probably richer than 99% of all owners, let alone people, was just hell-bent on crying poor mouth to the point where everybody just said, fine, just go, but just go quietly. And that's what's happened here. They've gotten the thumbs up to go, and they're going to try to go quietly. And it's just sad because they have a real passion and history in Northern California, and they didn't want to take the risk or spend the time to put together the deal. And it's sad because if John Fisher had literally just said, you know what, screw it, I'm going to build my own stadium, he would have made probably more. If he'd done it 20 years ago, probably would have made more money.
They would have made. Not only was there money to be made, I believe there are multiple championships that might have been won.
Oh, that's for sure. Because they had a lot of success on the baseball side. So
not even adding free agent talent, just signing and retaining the talent that you've developed would have cranked out 100-game winner after 100-game winner after 100-game winner.
And they just paid Billy hush money, and then all of a sudden he just stopped fighting the good fight, and then it was just like, okay, great, you got a movie. What else you got? Very sad. I
had the last consistent weekly interview with Billy Beane.
Did you?
I did, yeah. When I was when the game was the flagship, I had that weekly with Billy, and we would talk off the record before an awful lot of those interviews happened because we'd usually have to tape earlier in the day because he was unavailable, during my actual show. And we would have some really interesting off mic conversations. And I liked Billy, and Billy liked me, and we would talk casually and openly. And then all of a sudden, I'd say, all right, Billy, here we go. 3, 2, 1. And we'd start recording, and he would just turn into another person. He would turn into, now I'm public facing Billy Beane. You're not going to get much out of me. You're not going to get much personality. I'm going to filibuster my answers and literally, talk out the clock in real time. And I would finish taping these segments with him, and I'd be, thank you, Billy, thanks for coming on, and then the interview would end, and I would even say, I'd be like, what the fuck was that, dude? Where's the guy that I was talking to before we said record? He's like, well, that's the real Billy. This is the public facing Billy, and that's the one you get for your interview. He's like, I like talking to you, Damon, but I don't like talking to the media. He's like, wow. As soon as you say 3, 2, 1, you become the media. I'm like, all right, fair enough. But I like the guy. But yeah, he absolutely took the deal. And I wondered when's the last time you think Billy was even in the Oakland A's offices? Seriously.
I don't know, but I mean, it's just
Yeah.
he's making millions of dollars speaking, and he's got his movie, and what a bizarre career. I mean, the guy never won anything. The guy never won, but he's like the best known GM. All right, let's get into the Warriors. There's a rumor today going around that Jonathan Givony, who's pretty solid guy,
he is.
He's
I
been
like
covering the NBA draft for a number of years. He says the Warriors, in his article, the final piece of his article today, he cites the Warriors are looking to trade Jonathan Kuminga for a high lottery pick. Which got a lot of people going, wait. If you're going with trade Kuminga, you're going to trade him for a veteran because Kerr doesn't play young players. And I think ultimately it's just that the Warriors feel like Kuminga is a huge talent that has work to do on his game and is not ready to play. So they clearly think he's a powder. More than anything else, they think Jonathan Kuminga is a mental pussy, right? What's the difference between pouting and like wanting to play? Steve Young, was Steve Young a powder because he wanted to play? I mean, so if you unless you sit there on the bench with a gigantic smile on your face as Steve Kerr's giving your minutes to Anthony Lamb, you're supposed to sit there and just smile. Come on, man. I mean, that's their spin. I mean, I hear what you're saying.
No, it's not. I mean, it's not just their spin. It's also
the guy was playing quality minutes in March. Guy was playing 32 minutes a night in March.
Sure, but
and playing well.
March doesn't really matter in the NBA, does it? So
I'm just saying, it's like, he was playing well. It's not he didn't play well in the first series of the playoffs. And it was like, dude, banished. Sit down.
I think it'd be a little silly to give up on Kuminga. I mean, that's the thing. If they're giving up on Kuminga's raw talent or basketball acumen, I'd be surprised because he's got those things. So they must not like the way he is mentally wired. I mean, that's what this is a valuation of, because what you're looking for in the lottery would be someone the size of and played like Jonathan Kuminga. So to trade Jonathan Kuminga for a rawer, knows less about your system because he hasn't spent a day in it next Jonathan Kuminga, that sounds a little weird to me. So it's got to be a clear evaluation of what they think about his mental state. And if that's true, it's disappointing because I like him as a player. I think the guy's got some real talent and just needs to learn how to rebound a little bit better. And if he does that, there are a lot of minutes waiting for him on this team next year. I'd be surprised if they actually made this move. I would be. I don't think it's going to happen. I've been wrong about these things before, but tell me who is trading a lottery pick for Jonathan Kuminga. What team is going to do that? What team sitting in the lottery right now is going to do that? Like if you're Utah, I see NBA DraftNet, just, their mock has got Utah, which has 2 picks.
3 picks.
They're picking at 9,
16, and 24.
Yeah, 9, 16, and 24.
Or 28, I mean.
Would Utah come off of 9 for Jonathan Kuminga?
I think so. Oh, yeah, I do. I do think so. I think Dallas would do it at 10. I think Utah would do it at 9.
Who you trading up for? I mean, there's got to be, if
I'm the Warriors, I mean, to me, it's got to be a polished player. It's got to be a polished player. And the 2 polished players right there are Grady Dick, who, even though he was a freshman at Kansas, you're still talking about a very polished player. You're talking about a guy who can really shoot the ball. Probably the best shot in the entire draft is Grady Dick. So that's one. And then Jordan Hawkins, who's got just a ridiculous, beautiful shot, won UConn the national championship, 6'5", 2 guard from Connecticut. Those guys are projected to go 9 and 11. Yeah, so if I could get Utah or Dallas's pick, and Grady Dick was there, I think he's a very, very good player. And Hawkins,
if Utah is picking and Grady Dick is on the board at 9, they're drafting Grady Dick. Utah, a 6'7" white boy.
Come on.
It's Utah.
Well, I know, but I mean, you never know. I mean, it's Jonathan
Utah
Kuminga's a
will
coveted
draft the right
athlete. I
boy.
mean,
I know that.
there's
I
a
know
lot of
that.
people
You
that
know
want
that. We all
Jonathan
know that.
Kuminga. I really believe that. I bet you Orlando would love to have Jonathan Kuminga. I bet you Indiana would love to have Jonathan Kuminga.
Why wouldn't
I
the
think,
Warriors love to have Jonathan Kuminga? Is my question.
well, it's really about Kerr and them feeling like um I think it's about feel. It's about he's got great athleticism, but maybe not the most advanced feel. And so I just don't think they want to spend a lot of time coaching him up. I mean, he's obviously an awesome athlete, probably one of the best athletes in the entire league. And you're talking about a 6'8" player who I think's got Kawhi Leonard ability. But I know that you look around, nobody wants. I mean, think about it from the Warrior perspective. You're Joe Lacob. Your team just lost to the Lakers. You were hugely disappointing. You can't move Draymond Green because Curry loves him. You can't move Klay Thompson because his contract is so fat that he's not worth that kind of talent coming back. You got to have $40 million of players coming back. And probably can't trade Jordan Poole because Jordan Poole doesn't play any defense and has an ugly contract that's super bloated. So who's somebody that Kerr doesn't love that has value that you can trade? And it's Jonathan Kuminga. It's obvious. And Kuminga is the one guy that there's a bunch of teams around the league that want him because he's got a lot of talent.
But Kerr has also, parked his car very much in the garage of there's no such thing as a really good, effective rookie. I mean, but for the rare, going to end up in the Hall of Fame one day level player that is, Kerr hates young players. He hates undeveloped, hasn't played in the NBA players. He has a visceral amount of spite when it comes to those players. Why in year 4?
I don't agree with that. I don't think he has spite for young players. I just think he wants.
He hates him. He hates him. He doesn't trust him. He doesn't trust him.
He just wants guys who have ready-made basketball IQ. The Warriors are a highly intelligent team, and when you're relying on
drafting one of the rawest prospects ever in Kuminga and James Wiseman in the first place.
Yeah, it's a great question. But as far as when you want to play, pace and space, and you want to play ball movement, body movement, you got to have guys who understand how to make plays, and you got to have guys with high basketball IQ. The rest of their team pretty much does, but they've got some young players that don't, and Wiseman could never get it. And I think Kuminga's obviously got huge talent. I wouldn't move him, but I think they are. I think they'll move him, and I think they'll probably try to move him. I'm looking at the list. I mean, obviously they're not going to get number 1, so I don't think they're going to get number 2. So who do you really want here? I personally think that the only guy who's ready to step into their rotation would be Jordan Hawkins or Grady Dick. The rest of these guys, as you said, are young, athletic type players with various degrees of potential, but they're all raw. So the only polished guys are Hawkins and Grady Dick. They're late lottery guys. So we'll see if the Warriors trade Kuminga for a late lottery pick and take one of those guys. It sounds like that's the plan, at least part of the plan.
So Kuminga's going into what, year 4? Is that it? He'd be going into year 4 of his career, or year 3?
Year three.
Okay, so he's been with the team now for 2+ seasons, a postseason run that included an NBA title. If they're willing to walk away from him now, still at the tender age of, 21, 22 by opening night, whenever his birthday is, 23 maybe? I don't know. How old is Kuminga? I look it up.
He's young.
Yeah, he's very young. That's
24 years old.
24 years old. Okay, so this would be a huge admission that this guy upstairs is just mentally weak or stupid, or it's a total indictment on the Warriors' ability to develop a player with that much raw talent and ability. So either way, to me, the fork in the road is Kuminga is a huge pussy, or they're bad at developing players. Like, there is no in between. Well, there's more to it. No, that's it. That's it. You're either shitty at coaching these guys up, Steve, for whatever reason, and you can only, you're really good around future Hall of Famers. You can win with them, but anyone but that, you need a 10-year NBA know everything veteran, or Kuminga's a total puss.
Well, that's what they're saying is they want a young player. They just don't want him. They want to move him for a different young player. They still want the young player,
but
because they want the future
again with a rookie who's never played a single minute of basketball with Steph, Clay, or Dre. I just
you got to remember this though, Damon. Too, you're forgetting that Joe just got a new toy. He chased out the general manager. Now it's just him and his kids playing around. What would you want, more picks or less picks? If you're them, you're like, more picks. We get to do more.
They want Kuminga though. I mean, that's the thing. I thought they really wanted Kuminga. Why would you want to give up on Kuminga going into year 4?
I think they're probably listening to Draymond and Steph, and Draymond and Steph don't feel like Jonathan can play with them. I think they're listening to their stars.
All right. Well, look
here's the question is this.
If Steph says
I disagree because Steph wanted Avery Bradley, and they instead said, let's go Gary Payton. How did that work out? There's a big difference between hearing your players and listening to your players. You need to hear your players, but you don't need to listen to your players.
Well, remember, the biggest sensei in the room was supposed to be Andre Iguodala. Andre Iguodala wanted Wiseman, Kuminga, everybody traded. He wanted nothing but veterans. He didn't want any of the youth movement drafted. He said that it couldn't work, it wouldn't work, and they won a title. They won a championship with the team that Andre Iguodala said was going to piss off all of the veterans. And so, there's a lot of bullshit that comes out of Warriors land when it comes to what these players said, what they want, who they really doubled down on in any draft room or in any trade scenario. I don't know what to believe.
We don't even know who's making the pick. We can't even get a straight answer on, excuse me, who's actually in charge? It's funny you should ask that. Well, Mike Dunleavy's here.
Are they going to make an announcement about the GM before the draft, which is a week from tomorrow?
No, they're going to go with the collective we.
Oh, it's we.
Let me just tell you exactly. Let me just paint this picture. This is exactly what's going on. And I was totally right before, weeks ago, when I said, you know what? Bob Myers is being pushed out because he doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to work for Joe anymore because he doesn't want to, Joe wants his kids running the show. And then people are like, oh my God, no. And I said, yeah, it'll either be Dunleavy as the front man for Joe and Joe's kids, or there'll be no front man and it'll just be Joe and Joe's kids. And I think what's going to happen here is they're just going to leave the general manager's job unfilled, right? Joe and his kids this is going to be their draft. They're going to do what they want to do. If it goes poorly, they're going to say, we need to hire a general manager, blah, blah, blah. And then they'll blame it on Dunleavy, or just like, we need to hire a general manager and go down that road. If it goes well, they'll tell us afterwards that Kent and Kurt really ran the entire draft and that they'll be running things going forward on the heels of a successful draft. If they draft some couple guys and all of a sudden people like them and they play well, then it'll be like, oh, you know what? I know we didn't say it at the time, but Kurt and Kent ran this draft, and so they'll be running things going forward.
Right. It's victory has 1,000 fathers and defeat is an orphan.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly. So that gives them a bite at the apple, and if things go well, they've got the gig. And if things go poorly, somebody else will be scapegoated and somebody else will be brought in, and they'll make a decision like that. I'm absolutely 100% sure that's what's going on.
Here's the thing. I have just a fleck more respect for Mike Dunleavy Jr. than just being pretty boy window dressing for a hodgepodge collective thought bubble front office. Like I think
really you think he's that independent that he would tell Jim, no, Joe, I'm not listening to you and your kid. I'm just going to do what I want. I'm an independent man over here, Joe.
No, but I do think that he would absolutely argue for what he thought was right and not just lay over and let Team Lacob rub his belly like a lapdog. I don't think that he's that.
Really? I think that's exactly what he's there for.
No, I think he's too much of a basketball lifer. I mean, if he is that, then what a disappointing human being he's become.
Well, I mean, these are attractive jobs, dude. Talk about millionaire jobs.
Jr. has been talking more basketball before he got to the 8th grade than most McDonald's All-Americans have spoken through their day of getting drafted through the end of their NBA careers. The kid grew up in the sport of basketball, and I think that he's got enough respect, having grown up around the sport of basketball, to not just think, yeah, the path for my success absolutely begins with me just being Kirk Lacob's bitch. Like, there's no way that's who he is. I'd be really disappointed if that's who he is.
Get ready to be disappointed.
Well, here's the thing. So what happens? What happens if they crush the next 2 draft picks and it is Kirk Lacob? And Kirk Lacob is actually, he's the next Sam Presti.
Then the Warriors are going to be a dynasty forever.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. I don't want to.
The odds of that are come on, man.
Anything is going to happen before it happens. I don't know what Mike Dunleavy's going to be like as a general manager, so I really can't speak about it with much authority. The same thing with Kirk Lacob.
Well, it's like credentials. It's like anything else. You can either hire people with credentials or not.
What do we think of Bob Myers when they hired Bob Myers?
Well, that's fair. But I mean, at that point, the job was a much easier job. You already had Steph and Clay, or you had Steph, right? So you already had some momentum going, and there wasn't. Now it's like, hey, man, the attention on this guy is so much greater than the attention on that guy.
The whole thing about judging, I think you have to judge.
You sound like you want to give them the benefit of the doubt. That's fine. I've got no problem giving somebody the benefit of the doubt. But in my opinion, when I see straight nepotism and you have any number of qualified people that you could bring in, and you don't bring in any and you have your own draft board and you've already worked your kids into the front office. Now you're just kind of clearing, possible opposition out of the room. It's like, you know what? I'm a little skeptical.
You should be, but here's the thing.
Skeptical.
He's already got pelts on the wall. I mean, Joe Lacob is the single greatest
with Nelly's genius. With Nelly's genius.
Well, whatever.
Whatever. Well, no, but it isn't whatever, because it's really Nelly had the genius, which wound up with Steph, and Joe bought the team that had Steph. And without Steph, they don't win anything. So it's really not
genius that
whatever.
Saw Steph Curry, or was it the ridiculous drafting before Steph Curry was on the? There is an awful lot of luck involved.
There's no question. You still got to pick the right guy.
You got to pick the right guy. To me, an NFL GM needs to be evaluated eventually on draft picks, because you got to be successful in the draft to be a successful NFL team. The complication of a basketball GM, to me, real GMs prove themselves at trade deadlines, with budget manipulation, with being able to get in and out of the Kevin Durant thing, making yourselves a contender with him and without him. Like, that's where Bob Myers and my appreciation for him goes to infinity. When it comes to picking basketball players, every single one of these teams is throwing a dart at the board. You have no idea who you're going to get. If anyone knew what they were doing for real, Nikola Jokic isn't a second rounder. So talking about any of these guys being the end-all, be-all, greatest drafters of all fucking time, like, it just, to me, it's kind of.
So you don't believe that Jerry West is a good personnel guy? You don't believe that Don Nelson's a good personnel guy? He got Dirk Nowitzki and Steve Nash in the same draft.
That's great.
You didn't think Rod Thorne, who got Jordan, really had some genius there?
My mother could have drafted Michael Jordan. Are you kidding me?
He didn't even go 1 or 2.
I know.
He went 3.
But I mean, Portland called Bob Knight and said, we need a center. And that's why we're not taking Michael Jordan. And Bob Knight told the Trailblazers, well, you need to draft Michael Jordan and play him at center then. Like, it was that obvious that he was going to be great. And, the first pick, Jordan falls to 3. who's complaining about Hakeem Olajuwon going 1? You know what I mean? Like, it was Hakeem Olajuwon. So look, I to go back to the single greatest, Jerry West is literally, okay, so he's the logo of the whole fucking league. I'm not surprised that he's good at his job in any capacity.
Sam Presti's a great GM. I mean, great GMs do matter.
Okay, but what has he won? Don Nelson, by the way, for all of his acumen, he won nothing.
Well, that's never even Avery Johnson won the title. I mean, that's like saying that George Seifert won when he won with Bill Walsh's team. That's like saying that that Barry Switzer won, but he really won with Jimmy Johnson's team. I mean, Avery Johnson won, but that was the team that Nelly built.
If all we do is give credit to the guy who had the job before you had your job,
well, I mean, how about this? How about just the architect? I mean, like the '85 Bears. You're from Chicago. Nobody credits whoever, Jerry Angelo or Mike Ditka. They credit Jim Finks with the '85 Bears because Jim Finks built the '85 Bears.
Do you feel intimidated right now?
You feel
intimidated? Look at this team photo. I mean, there's more talent in this photo than most football teams will have in 50 years of their organization.
You know what's the most amazing part about the '85 Bears? Not only was it the greatest defense ever assembled, Al Harris and Todd Bell held out for the entire year. They had 2 starters who got involved in contract holdouts with the team and held out for the entire year, and they were still the '85 Bears. I mean, think about that.
Amazing is you can talk about the 1985 Chicago Bears and that defense till you're blue in the face, and you might forget to bring up Wilbur Marshall,
who was as good as anybody on that defense.
Wilbur Marshall is the forgotten Bear. I mean,
number 54. I remember him like it was yesterday. Otis Wilson and Wilbur Marshall, Mike Singletary, Dent, Gary Fensick, Sean Gale.
They were special. But look,
Jimbo Covert.
Now we're talking about boards. Now this is us off on a tangent. Look, I am not going to tell you what the Warriors aren't until I see it. I'm really not. Like, they've earned enough house credit with me as an organization that if you're telling me it all falls apart and Bob Myers was literally the link that held it all together because he did have some veto power or whatever, I tell you, it's time that people hand Bob Myers a lot more flowers than they've even already started to hand to him because he was that good. I mean, to me, it's never one guy, one decision. This is the one moment in time, the one draft pick that changes everything, unless you're saying that one draft pick was Steph Curry. And to say that Don Nelson was so genius to have drafted Steph Curry, he is dumb fuck lucky that Steph Curry fell to him. He should have been the 4th, 3rd pick in the draft. Looking back at it, of course, he should have gone number 1. But I mean, it was. No, but
I mean, I've interviewed Larry Riley and I've talked to him about that whole thing.
So have I.
And he, we walked through it, and he basically said that Nelly.
Hold on, we got an emergency here.
What do you got?
We have Jack Bruce just delivered a fresh-made chocolate chip cookie from the kitchen.
For you.
From me.
That.
Thank you very much, Jack.
You eat it right now?
I want to make a funny sound.
No, you can't make any funny sounds. honey, are you serious? I love you. No, you can't. You need to get him out of here right now, please. Thank you very much before something happens.
You do it another time.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
My life.
There you
That's
go.
My guy.
Will there be tears? How strong-minded is he? How strong-willed is he?
I don't care. Let me tell you about this cookie.
Sometimes they dig deep.
Larry, it's a hot cookie.
Oh, that sounds so good. By the way,
it
this afternoon,
get better than a hot cookie, baby. And this is the voice that Jack wanted to use. He heard this. He heard his own voice turned into this.
Right.
Like 3 nights ago.
Thought it was the funniest thing ever.
Been able to talk about since.
It's had a profound impact on his life.
Really has. I won't finish the cookie with you. I'll wait till the home and home is over to jump back into that cookie.
Well, we're pretty much at the end here, but the talk is they're going to trade Kuminga to move up in the lottery. And Brian Iglesias says, what's more realistic, trading Kuminga for a lottery pick or trading Poole, Kuminga, and number 19 for a couple of veterans or a superstar? I think it's the latter. I don't even know. I mean, to me, it just seems like when you're trying to move a guy like Jordan Poole, who's, coming off a down year and he makes a ton of money, I just think the value of what he is it's hard to get on the same page as far as what his value is, because he's making so much and he's coming off such a disappointing playoffs. And there could be a huge difference of opinion, let's just say, in what is the value of Jordan Poole. And yet you have to make the salaries all work. I don't know. Personally,
I don't think they're trading Kuminga. I don't think they're trading Jordan Poole. I think the team that you saw last year adds the pick at 19, and that's your team.
Wow.
That's what I think. I don't think that there is going to be this radical day of draft, big trade. Let's see if I'm right or wrong about it, but I just don't think the Warriors are going to do that. I don't.
These are the only trades that I could see. I was looking at this thing last night. Tell me what you think of these two trades. And neither of these are going to be like, wow, awesome. First one would be Jordan Poole, and you could throw in Kuminga if you wanted. You could go Jordan Poole and Kuminga to Dallas for Tim Hardaway and their lottery pick and Davis Bertans. You get shooting. You get the 10th pick.
Okay, so we can talk about that because I also like Davis Bertans.
Who's a shooter. Who's a big-time shooter.
Yeah, that to me is – how about that? We can talk about that. I'm not just signing off on it. I'd have to look at all the numbers, but just, you're floating that past me. You're telling me I get Hardaway, Bertans, and the number 10?
Right. Hardaway, Bertans for Poole and Kuminga.
So 3 for 2? Okay, right. We can talk about that. What is the other trade?
The other trade is because all this talk about Joe saying he could trade anybody not named Curry. I don't think Curry's going, obviously, but I also don't think Green's going because I think Green is integral to Curry being Curry. But I think that means Thompson could be going. And what do you think of this one? Thompson to the Nets. And you're not going to love this return, but it's Spencer Dinwiddie, Joe Harris, and their 2 first-round picks, and then which are 21 and 22, and then you turn around and draft some players. I mean, I like the guy that I really love. I love this kid Tristan Vukovic, but I also like Sidi Sissoko. You got to go check out Sidi Sissoko. Played in the G League. He's a 6'8" high school point guard who's from France, who played 2 guard. He's probably more of a 2 guard now, but Damon, this guy is going to be, they say he's going to go in the 40s. I would take him in the 20s just because I like him that much. But, I mean, you're talking about 6'8", great explosiveness to the hole, good passer, kind of a combo 1-2, but a great passer. And then you could just kind of, at the end of the year, Thompson was a free agent anyway. At the end of the year, you Dinwiddie and Harris are both free agents. The money adds up.
Joe Harris, to me, would be a great Warrior. I mean, that guy's just a 3-point shooter. I think he would be perfect in a Warriors uniform. I like Spencer Dinwiddie more than most. It would be really hard to come off of Clay, but if you're telling me I get 2 real NBA players who move better than him at this point in his career and 2 draft picks, again, I don't know why Brooklyn would ever do that deal, but I would also consider that. And I love Klay Thompson as much as any big Warriors fan could possibly love Klay Thompson. I really do. But Klay has, it's better to say goodbye a year too early than a year too late written all over him.
He seems like he's having a hard time coping with the twilight of his career. The other one that could work as well. What do you think of Klay Thompson and some future picks for Ben Simmons? They both make around $40 million. For the Joe, that would be like, it would take a huge amount of guts and money, right? Because Simmons is signed up long term, and that would not save the Warriors money. That would vault them into that ridiculous stratosphere.
Don't like it. Here's the thing. From a financial standpoint, I think it's almost untenable. And from just, does Draymond Green physically assault Ben Simmons on any given day. There's no way that those two guys could coexist. Draymond Green would eat that man alive. Ben Simmons would be on one of those psychologist couches, like on the bench. He would need a couch because there's no, that can't happen.
You don't like that. You don't like that.
No, that can't happen.
Last question on the way out here. 49ers off until training camp. Did an interview today that I'll be releasing tomorrow on my channel with their undrafted rookie running back, Ronald Awatt, who's a great story. The guy's already got, talk about, you feel like you've accomplished something in life. He's already gotten his degree and his master's. How about that? He's already got a master's degree.
Impressive.
Now he's trying to make the Niners. Great story, hardworking kid.
I like smart, Larry. Always have, always will. I like smart.
This guy's smart. This guy's really smart. Give me the one concern that you have, if you have any. Maybe you have none. Where are you with the 49ers with training camp coming up? I did a roster breakdown last night, and I was looking how deep they are, and they're just a very deep football team.
Larry, I have absolutely no concerns. Print the T-shirts. They're winning the Super Bowl.
They're winning the Super Bowl.
No concerns.
None.
No, I'm sure you were looking for a probing, better answer than I'm going to give you.
It could be anything. You could have. You don't have to have a concern. You could be like, hey, we think they're going to.
Is the ever fluid quarterbacking situation, and if Brock Purdy, falls into the category of flash in the pan more than second coming, that would be a concern. And now all of a sudden it's Trey Lance's team. And to me, Trey Lance being your starting quarterback is a little bit of a concern. Or maybe it's not Trey Lance and now it's Sam Darnold. To me, that's a little concerning. The ever-present quarterbacking dilemma, which they have played nobly through for years now, is the ever-present concern around the 49ers. And then, of course, the weird injury bug that seems to come up and bite them, and in years it doesn't. They got a much better chance to win 12 games than in years it does. I think look at it this way. They could kind of screw it up this year and win 10 games. The question is, will they win 12? Will they win 13? I mean, that's what I really am looking at with the Niners. Are you going to get 1 or 2 home playoff games?
Brian says, how is Colton McKivitz going to play right tackle after replacing Mike McGlinchey? That's my concern.
I think it's
yeah, that's not one of mine.
I think you're going to get similar production. Mike McGlinchey was easy to say that guy sucks. He doesn't suck.
No, he's solid. He was solid.
He wasn't nearly as bad as everyone thought he was. No. And I think that Colton McKivitz will do a similar job to Mike McGlinchey. It won't be great. He's not going to be a Pro Bowler. He's not going to change. Man, where did this guy come from? I don't think he's that type of player, but I don't think that McGlinchey was as bad as everyone claims him to be. He just got armbarred and ragdolled, and that's bad for it's bad when you get put on a poster, and he got posterized by a couple defensive ends.
My biggest concern for the Niners is defensive end behind Bosa. Just can they get anything out of Cleveland Farrell and Austin Bryant and Drake?
But you're high on Drake Jackson too, aren't you?
I am high on Drake Jackson, but they lost 700 snaps with Ebukam, a Menahue, and Jordan Willis leaving. And I'm not a Farrell guy, and I'm not much of an Austin Bryant guy. And then I was hoping that Robert Beal would look really good in camp, and I barely noticed him. So I'm a little concerned about defensive end behind Bosa and Jackson.
Look, I'm not trying to jump on. I'm not trying to negate your point with your point. Did you notice a Menahue at any point in time in preseason training camp? Anything like I did? Like the amount of evaluating defensive line play in OTAs and training camps where they're just wearing shells, it's impossible to do. They're not even out there playing football yet. So I'm not worried about that. And I think that Chris Kasurik is so good at his job as a defensive line coach that it's just, I don't think there's a grouping that the defensive line is going to have to prove itself so deficient for me to be concerned about them before I get concerned about them. I mean, that's going to have to be a glaring concern. So you got Bosa and nothing else. And look, Hargrave alone is going to make whatever players around him better, right? Isn't that the whole point of picking that guy up at the price they paid?
He should change the shape of the pocket just by himself.
I agree.
By himself.
So
I think he'll change the shape of the pocket. It's just a matter of, this is all I'm thinking. If they lose Bosa for any 3-week period because of a hamstring, you could be looking at a very thin defensive end group. And right now, there's potential. There's a rumor that Chase Young and Montez Sweat may be traded, and Yannick Ngakoue is still out there. Justin Houston's still out there.
Because I read that too this week, and I'd be interested.
And I think the price is right. Like, I saw what Leonard Floyd got from Buffalo, and I saw what Frank Clark got from Denver. They got, $5 million, $7 million guaranteed. They didn't get $10 million, $12 million guaranteed like people had speculated. So I think if, the Niners have $9 million on the cap, they'll have more left after Bosa redoes his deal and they extend him. But I know they want to roll some of that over.
Will they get the Bosa deal done before the season?
They will get the Bosa deal done before Bosa plays one snap on the field again. So, he was asked about it the other day. He said, "I'll get what I deserve." In other words, it's already been worked out. They're just not going to sign the deal until the morning he's going to hit the field in training camp. And then he's going to sign a deal, and it's going to be for record-setting money, probably $30 million annually. And it will wind up saving them significant money on this year's cap because of the bonus that they can now spread over 5 years or whatever years the deal is going to be, the term of the deal. And so they already have $9 million. They're going to wind up with maybe another $9 million of cap room. And how much of that do they choose to roll over? And then do they devote some portion of that to one more defensive end? I got to think that's what we may see. But
look, 3 football seasons is the equivalent of like 7 other seasons in any sport. That's how much turnover it is. That's how hard it is to connect one year to the next. I don't think that there's a lot of momentum in between years. I really don't.
All right, man.
That the 49ers have a 2-year window to win a Super Bowl, to legit win a Super Bowl with this roster as it looks and reminds us of right now, because they have the single least punitive costing quarterback room on planet football. And if they can't win with Kyle's system in the next 2 years, while they've got this pennies from heaven deal in their quarterbacking room, that's when the squeeze starts coming to the rest of the team. And, what are you going to do now? What are you going to do now?
You're a smart guy because, that is, you've crystallized the exact vibe that people don't seem like they understand. Like, there's been this whole pursuit of what's going on with the Niners. Why do they suddenly not have this patience for Trey Lance? Why are they suddenly all in on Brock Purdy? Why is this happening? Because it's their go time.
Right.
And they cannot defer one more day, one more year. They cannot lose any seasons because of quarterback play. They cannot lose any seasons because of quarterback development. They have to have the best play right now. This is their premium window. You could argue they're late inside their window. What you said was ultimately the truth, which is they now have this cheap quarterback, which means they can afford Bosa and Ayuk and Debo and all these fancy toys. And they got a tremendous roster, and they got about a 2-year window to get it done. And let's be honest, John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, and Jed York will all be made men treated differently by their peers and bosses, if they have any, if they get this championship. Jed will be running the Niners independent of Dr. John and Denise, I believe. If the Niners win their 6th under him, I think Lynch can stay for as long as he wants. And I think Shanahan will have a record-setting deal that keeps him here as long as he wants if they get it done. If they don't get it done, anything could happen.
There's a 34-game regular season window to win a Super Bowl, right? The next 2 years. That's it. In their next 2 seasons, they need a Lombardi trophy by hook or crook. It's got to happen.
Got to happen. It's their go time. It's their window. And that's the only thing. People say, what's changed? Nothing's changed. They feel exactly the same way about Trey Lance today that they always have. They like him. They know he's hardworking. They think he's going to get there. But now the only change is they're operating on their time frame, and they're going to prioritize their time frame. And that means playing the guy who's ready to play, in their opinion, right now. And if guess what? You know what that also means? If Trey goes to camp and goes to the preseason and shows that he is their best quarterback right now, he's going to stay in there. So that's how that works too. So it's a meritocracy.
Yeah, no, the quarterback who starts well and plays well is your starting quarterback.
Yep.
That's it. That's it. Whoever gets the job week one, if they let's say for whatever reason, it's Sam Darnold. If Sam Darnold has a really good first 4 weeks of the season, he's your starting quarterback. They're not going to take him out to then be like, oh, we got to go back to Brock. Yeah, I don't think so. Whoever gets the job and executes it well is your Niners starting quarterback this year. If this were animated, Larry, you would see the wafts of the cookie, like doing this to my finger, doing the.
Now, is it a homemade cookie? Is it Toll House?
Homemade cookie. This is straight from scratch. KitchenAid mixer was used, homemade cookie.
Eggs were whipped and
the whole
sugar
shebang.
and
No
mixed.
doubt about it. Absolutely. This is a homemade cookie, baby. So I got to get on this. It's still warm, not nearly as hot as it was 15 minutes ago, but the sports talk was so hot. We could not walk away from it.
Have a good night, man. Anything you want to tease on your channel coming up tomorrow or the next day?
I mean, tomorrow is a day where I've already started to plan it a little bit, thinking about the thumbnail that I'm about to post and put up. And we're going to talk some Giants. We've been talking so much about the A's. I think it's really time that the Giants deserve a little, have earned a little attention. And I'm going to be talking about the Giants and then probably dipping back into the Kuminga situation that, you and I were talking about just a little while ago. And I think that's where tomorrow's show feels like the focus is going to be. I love the Niners. I want to talk Niners all the time, but we've got an NBA draft coming up a week from tomorrow. So it's time to start focusing attention there. So I'm going to put the audience's attention on that. I'd like to ask your audience, Larry, all the Krueger crew that is not following me, boy, I'd really appreciate a follow, because not only would you be doing me a solid, but you won't miss a moment of Larry, who's going to be nice enough to come back on my channel soon enough in our Home and Home series here. And you don't want to miss that. It's been a great day adding subscribers for me, and I'd love it to be a great night, and the Krueger Army could do that for me. So hit that like button right here tonight on Larry's show. Hit a subscribe button on Damon Bruce Plus. Go ahead, download that podcast. Like Draymond said, you gonna get this podcast. And I thank you as always, Larry. You're a friend. You've been a mentor in this new spot for me. Congratulations again on your new sponsor. That is just fantastic news. And I'm proud of you. I know you're proud of me. I'm proud of you. There's no doubt this is the single best show that the city of San Francisco never got. And now they get it.
There you go.
There you go.
All right, man. Go eat your cookie.
Everybody wins in the end.
We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Larry.
There you go. The great Damon Bruce in the house. And we do have a new sponsor, and it is Marin Auto Glass. And if your windshield is shattered or cracked, they're going to come to where you are and change it out for you. MarinAutoGlass.com, 415-883-3030. The newest sponsor of the Krueg Show. All right. Thanks to Damon, and thanks to all of you. Let's get a word from our sponsors. We're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, best barbecue in Northern California. They got 2 locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week in Marin County, folks. 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day in Marin. And if you're like me and you live out in the East Bay, they got a really cool spot in Emeryville. They're open Wednesday through Sunday in Emeryville. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in Northern California. The brisket is amazing. The brisket chili with big chunks of real brisket in the chili is maybe the greatest chili I've ever had. Here's what they look like in Marin.
We grew up with a Sunday dinner. That means no matter how busy you were, no matter where the hell you were, you came to dinner on a Sunday night. Yeah, Sunday dinner without sausage, it's like a church without God. You know, how can you go to church if you don't believe in God? You know, and along with the sausage also became the discussions. That was discussion night. You know, it wasn't a typical family that you sit there and you're quiet, you know, and you don't talk with a mouthful. Oh no, man. Italians talk when they're eating. Italians even talk when they're sleeping. And definitely we talk with our hands. So if we can't express it through our mouth, through our lips, we express it with our hands. So, and that's what sausage is, really. It's an expression, you know, that life is good.
All right, coming down the stretch on the Krueg Show. People are asking for impersonations. Really? Impersonations? Kyle McKiernan says, I've got a little New York style Italian sausage left in my fridge for tomorrow. There you go. Erwin Kwong, New York sausage guy. Balky's impersonation wasn't bad either. Ernie Chavez. Larry does a great Dr. Phil. You're a disgusting fat pig. You got to back away from the table. Do you like my Dr. Phil dieting show impersonation, or my Trent Baalke? You know, I really liked AJ Jenkins. I thought he was a hell of a receiver, Larry, and I do think our linebacking core is challenged. And I said that to you and to John Lund in that elevator. Oh man, I remember those days. All right, there you go. There is my Trent Baalke. And I won't get Kyle says, yes, Larry wins the impersonation hands down award. I have to have a sip of water when he does it because he can literally make my throat scratchy through the computer. That's Kyle McKiernan, ladies and gentlemen. Kyle McKiernan, who was a hell of a linebacker before he tore his ACL, which made me interested in him and his potential. G. Martinez, Larry always has new bulky material. Caught up today with Ronald Awatt. of the 49ers, and we're going to release that tomorrow morning on the channel. And we wrapped for about an hour, and what a kid, man. What a great guy. We talked a little bit about his career. He was born in Nigeria, moved to Lubbock, Texas as a kid. If you want to feel lazy, this guy's, made it to the NFL. He's in camp with the Niners, undrafted free agent running back, 25 years of age, trying to make a pro career. He's already graduated from the University of Texas at El Paso with a multidisciplinary studies major degree. And he's gotten his master's already, I think, on education. And it's just, the guy's unbelievable. The guy's absolutely unbelievable. He's a great follow on Twitter at young bucket _Ron. Young bucket, YUNG bucket _Ron. Great follow on Twitter. But I really like his film. I like what AWAT looks like. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's a perfect outside zone runner. He's like kind of a one cut and go guy, and he gets downhill. And we're talking about a guy who's a little bit better than you think, like sub 4, 540, came off a real good final year at UTEP, really strong, had 16 reps at 225 at his pro day, 35-inch vertical, average over 3 yards per carry after contact. So this guy runs through you. And, some guys run around, some guys run through. This guy runs through. So great kid, great story. He's born in Nigeria. His family had no idea that, what football was. His mom, he was telling me how his mom asks him questions about the game and, just little inquiring questions about, what's this, what's that. And he told me that this summer, when he goes to the preseason and plays in his first preseason game wearing a 49er uniform, that will be the first time that he has ever been at an NFL game in any capacity as a fan. He's never been to an NFL game in his life. The first NFL game that he's going to go to in his life is going to be a game that he plays in. That is just wild. So anyway, great kid, and I wish him nothing but the best, and he was really great to talk to him today. So we're going to play that for you. We're going to break that out tomorrow on YouTube in the morning. So look for my hour-long interview with Ronald Awatt. Tonight, we were going to collab with Vish Kumaran, but Vish had to work, so we're going to do it tomorrow night. So tomorrow night at 6:45, catch me with Vish Kumaran. I'll just be arriving home from a long day on the radio because I'm sitting in tomorrow with Mark Willard from 2 to 6 p.m. on 95.7 The Game. Tomorrow and Friday, you can hear me and Willard. And I believe Willard has given me the text that Farhan Zaidi is going to join me and Mark tomorrow. So I want all of you to join me on 95.7 The Game tomorrow at 2 o'clock and Friday at 2 o'clock. And then, of course, as soon as 6 o'clock hits, I will get in my car, roll home, and do a live stream with the great Vish Kumaran tomorrow night. And then Friday night, I'll also be on with Mark from 2 to 6 p.m. Then I'm going to come home, watch Giants-Dodgers Game 1, and Ned Colletti's going to join me after the game. And Danny will be with us as well. I've asked the Giants if they could get us Farhan, and we'll see. I was told that they'll inquire. So that could be an epic show if we wind up with Ned and Danny and me and Farhan after Giants-Dodgers Friday night. So that is going to be spectacular. Then Saturday morning, quick turnaround, Saturday morning at 10 a.m., the great Grant Cohn will be stopping by on my channel. So I do a bunch of hits with him on his channel. He'll be stopping by on my channel Saturday morning at 10 a.m. And then coming up next week, one of the things that we confirmed today is next Tuesday, two of my favorite guys that I have not had on the channel yet, Guy Haberman and John Middlecoff. Haberkoff, no, I should say, or they call their show Ham, Haberkoff or Haberman and Middlecoff. But both those guys are, friends of mine from way back. So Tuesday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we're going to have them on. Looking forward to that. Also, I should tell you, Friday in the morning. So tomorrow Vish at 6:45 p.m. Me and Willard on 95.7 The Game from 2 to 6. Friday, I'm back with Willard 2 to 6, and then I'm on post game with Ned and Danny and maybe Farhan. But also Friday, don't want to forget to tell you at 11 a.m. the great Jack Hammer and I will be collabing on Friday morning at 11 a.m. talking Niners and looking ahead to training camp. So we got that going as well. And then Grant Saturday at 10 a.m. on the channel. And then Tuesday at 2 o'clock on the channel, Guy Haberman and John Middlecoff. Don't want to butcher the names. We got this one. Rip Krueg Rebel says, oh, cool, Larry. Nice that you have Middlecoff on. Yeah, Middlecoff's good. Former NFL scout, and Haberman's really good too. They're just sharp guys, and you know what I like about them is that they're truly independent. You know, they're going to tell you what they honestly think, and that's what I want out of this channel. I want as many people on here who tell us what they honestly think, and they're good. They're good content. So looking forward to that. Also next week, the great David Lombardi, who's going to be in the house. Jordan Elliott's going to be back with us next week. We're going to have Steve Weish on the show, and a few surprise guests. The great John Lund from KMBR is going to join us next week on the show. It looks like Johnny's on the mend, so that's good to see. And so all that coming up next week. Matt Dubuque says trade Joey Bart. Yeah. What do you think of my Joey Bart to the Marlins for Jazz Chisholm? Little win-win. Marlins get a catcher they need. Giants get somebody who can play a little second, little center. I know they got Matos. I know they got Estrada, but you can never have enough speed and dynamic players at the top of the lineup. Man, Jazz Chisholm in a Giants uniform would be nice. Let's see. We got this one from Haruku Itoki. Can't get Ralph and Farhan, but Krueg would be my second choice, or Damon. As far as questioning Farhan, yeah, well, we'll get a few questions in. Erwin Kwong says, damn, Larry, getting around the social media sports circuit. Rigged said, busy. Yeah, I'm booked. As Riddy Musich once said, Larry's booked up 100. Yeah, it's been, and then, the other thing that I'm on cloud 9 today because I went and saw my kid play Summer League varsity baseball, and bags loaded, comes up, line drive center field, just a rope. So I'm very excited to go in the house and talk to him about his base hit to center field. I'm telling you, the kids who play summer ball out here in the 680 corridor, Walnut Creek, Pleasanton, up and down, you're talking about some damn good players. Like, I watch these games in the afternoon. I'll go out and watch my kid play. I mean, the kids that are playing out here are damn good. And you can see why such a high percentage of major league players come out of Texas, Florida, California, Georgia to some degree. But really, it's those 4 states, because the high school baseball in the state of California is incredible. And the talent up and down the 680 corridor is something else. So every single day, it's a huge challenge to go out there and compete with these kids. And my kid got a nice hit today, so I'm going to go tell him, way to go, Ben. Brian Iglesias says, we got this one from Brian. He says, the issue with trading Joey Bart is he doesn't have as much value as he did 2 years ago. I'm not sure Bart would get much in return. Yeah, but I hear what you're saying, Brian, but also you got to remember this. Go look. Do this exercise. Go look and pretend you're a team that needs a catcher, and go look what's out there. It's scarce, man. There's no catching depth. If you're talking about a guy like Joey Bart who throws well, has big bat speed, doesn't cost anything, there's value to that. I know what you're saying, though. He's not the same. He doesn't have the same value as he had when he originally came up. But just because of supply and demand, I think the Giants should be able to get something good for Joey Bart. Matt Dubuque says Bart wants to play outfield like Kyle Schwarber. Well, I mean, that's another guy I would not mind having on the Giants. If the Nationals are going to suck all year, I'll take Kyle Schwarber off their hands. So there you go. As Erwin Kwong says, catcher is a premium position. Yeah, I mean, it's just you're not going to find anybody, and that might be the argument for why, why he's not going to be dealt. Maybe it's because it's the Giants may not have another guy to replace him. I don't feel like they feel good about the Rule 5 kid as a backup. So who's going to be the backup catcher? Now you could always go try to find some Kirk Casale type veteran, but I'm just saying, it's tough. It's tough to find catching. There's a whole thing on MLB trade rumors about how Kim Ng, the Marlins general manager, is badly looking for a catcher, and there's none out there. I mean, there's literally nobody available. We got this one from Rockin' New Era 84. Has your son been scouted, Larry? Just by me. Just by me. I don't think anybody else. I don't think he's on that level. I don't think we're even pretending he's on that level. But I love him, and he's actually a pretty good athlete. Pretty tall, rangy kid. Spends a lot of time in the weight room. I wish I had this kid's body. He's, big shoulders, small waist, very strong. I don't think this kid knows how good he really can be. Kyle McKiernan says, Larry, I'm sure you already know, but can you share some thoughts on John Lund? I watched his video shortly after he posted it. My wife's uncle is just a few months ahead of him after surgery. Kyle, I really don't know anything about John's health situation other than what he posted in that video. And but he is a good friend of mine. I do love him like a brother, and I have contacted him about coming on the show, and hopefully we'll have him on probably in the next few days. So yeah, Johnny's a good man. Hopefully he's doing great. As I said, I love him like a brother. Senior softball games. What was Larry's trade proposal? My trade proposal was Joey Bart for Jazz Chisholm. I just think Jazz Chisholm is the kind of piece to the puzzle. The White Sox getting ready to score here. Chi Sox have a 5-4 lead on the ninth inning at Dodger Stadium and look like they got second and third looking to add on. Andrew Vaughn at third, and Luis Robert just hit a ball into the left field corner, second and third. Hopefully the Chi Sox add on here against the Dodgers. Dodgers are 38-29. So Luis Robert is just awesome. That guy's bat speed is just incredible. Yes, Sable, the catcher behind Bailey, is to say he's raw. He's just not very good defensively. So that's the problem there. 95.7 Brian says, I understand teams need catching. He's a solid defender, but his offense is the issue. He's too free swinging, strikes out way too much to fetch a major league player. Thinking more of a prospect. Yeah, maybe. You could be right. There's a lot of swing and miss, as they say, in his game. It used to be, when I was a kid, it was just like, hey, this guy sucks. Now it's like there's a way to say that. You can say there's a lot of swing and miss in his game. A lot of swing and miss. In the 70s, that was just, you sucked. All right, that's going to do it for us tonight. Have a great night, everybody. Check out Ronald Awatt in the morning. Check me out tomorrow on 95.7 The Game, sitting in for Dibs with the great Mark Willard. And Farhan Zaidi's going to be in the house, and I can't wait to talk to Farhan about what he's cooking up in July at the trade deadline and what other prospects are going to follow Luis Matos to the bigs. I'm telling you, man, this prospect takeoff with Schmidt and Bailey and Matos could not have come at a better time for Farhan Zaidi. Tune in tomorrow at 2 to hear us on 95.7 The Game. Until then, peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Careful,